Hi, I'm Danny. I'm an alcoholic. Nice looking group of people. Shirley, thank you so much for inviting me here. Anita, very sweet of you to be so hospitable to us all when we came here to save our seats. And happy birthday to the celebrants. What a bunch of sobriety in this room. I mean, I could just walk back and forth in this room every week and that would be enough, right? I can always hear my sponsor, who was a great speaker, I can always hear him talking in my head before I talk. He says, if you can't help them, don't hurt them, right? Great advice. So my home group is just the Black Print in Sherman Oaks, California. It's where I came from. It's going to get messy up here in a minute. Got to get this all clean, you know. OCD people can appreciate that, right? Everything's got to be. My remote controls on my table all have to be in ascending order from large to small. Bed's got to be made in the morning or the whole house feels like it's a mess, you know. I love OCD. You get a lot done. Neatness counts, man. And early is on time, right? So anyway, my home group is a meeting that the late great Mike Ross started up in, and as you know, I think Ray and Linda live down here, and they used to be a big part of that group. And Jim Hurley, who recently spoke here and says hello to you. I spoke to him in the car. He was part of my sobriety up there. But what a treat. My grand sponsor is in the room, who spoke here last week. Luther is in my lineage right there, who my sponsor calls a samurai. Yeah. I remember too, my first home group of this sobriety, right, was called the Good Old AA Group, Sherman Oaks, California, the greatest Alcoholics Anonymous meeting in the right? And it was one of those real social meetings like this meeting. Before the meeting, you know, it sounded like my head on any given day. And all this stuff was going on. And Earl would point to Luther and he'd go, see that guy? He's a samurai. But it was true. I mean, because everybody would be running around, and just Luther just be, you know, kind of like Bill in Kill Bill. Yeah? Just like that. So anyway, it's nice to be, sure is nice to be somewhere, man. We've all been in a lot tougher situations than this, haven't we? Oh my goodness. We're probably doing some kind of public service, all being here sober tonight. I'm sure. We're putting a lot of bail bondsmen out of jobs. That's for sure. I'm sure you can tell that these are some of my guys that I have with me, you know, and I saw some of the eyebrows raising. They're like, well, look at the guys with the tattoos on their necks and stuff. Yeah. One of the first things that ever happened to me when I finally turned around my sobriety and started working the cornerstone of my sobriety, which is contrary action, right? And I had been with my sponsor. I had 8 years sober once, and I went out on my 8th birthday. And I came to the rooms, and I said some very disrespectful things to the rooms of AA, and I had never tried it. I had never opened a book. I had never had a sponsor. I never worked a step. It was that white-knuckle, self-will sobriety. It wasn't sobriety. It was what some people call talking sober and living drunk. Nothing had changed. Nothing. And, you know, I'll tell you what, with 8 years of untreated alcoholism, I was crazier than any newcomer in this room. Trust me. And I went out for 15 years. And I came in and out, in and out, in and out. And this man that I asked to sponsor me named Earl never, ever gave up on me. Ever gave up on me. And I had never in that 15 years asked him, what would you like me to do? Because my sponsor is he's not a dictator. Unless he sees me about to like literally walk off a cliff, he might say, Danny, watch out. But he's not a dictator. He gave me gentle love, which is exactly what I needed. Love, love. Like, speak, like, see, this is Dustin right here. His sobriety date is on the same day as mine, but different years apart. And he is the most gentle, sweetest, loving man that I know. And trust me, I know some sweet men. And he is a doll. And he's a wonderful example and a living, breathing example of this book right here. And I love you. And I love all you guys, So, anyway, I'm sitting in a room, right? There's a lot of people, I'm sure, that don't have their original sobriety date. Would you mind showing me all the people that have relapsed in this room? Come on, right? And I was in and out. And the great obsession, man, the larger aspect of my disease, the beast, is what we call it in my lineage. The obsession would just go on, and you guys be having a meeting, and the beast would just be talking to me, and I would just get up and leave during the meeting, or while they're all chit-chatting, I would just leave. And one time at the good old AA meeting, I don't know why, what made it any different, but I guess I had been beaten into a state of reasonableness, and I got up and I walked over to my sponsor, who was talking to these people in the kitchen, and I said, dude, I'll do whatever you want me to do. What do you want me to do? And there was a dude that Dustin reminded me of, except he had like muscles in his, just one of those muscles in his face, tattoos crawling up his neck right next to his eye. And everything about this guy said, don't talk to me. All he was missing was like a neon sign that says, stay away. And I said, I'll do whatever you want. And he said, see that guy? Go say hi to that guy. Right? And I'm like, man, that was a very bad idea to ask him, what should I do, right? I mean, I would rather have vacuumed the ceiling, which probably some of you in this room have done. But I said, you know what came out of my mouth for the first time in that 15 years ever? I just said, okay, I'll do it. And I walked over to this guy, and I'm sure he could tell, written on my face, this is not my idea, right? I'm like, it was like, you know what it was like? It was like if this was a dance in the gymnasium in junior high school, and I'm 53, right? So when I was in the 7th grade, all the dudes would be lined up on one side and all the girls be on the other, and you'd have to do this long walk to ask a girl to dance, which is, I would rather get in a fist fight with a sheriff's department, the whole sheriff's department, than to go do this, right? And it felt just like that, going to say hi to this tough guy, And when you're walking across the gymnasium, you're thinking, she's going to say no, she's going to say no, she's going to say no. Hi, would you like to dance? I don't like this song. Which my brain goes, I'd rather dance with anyone but you. And then you make the long walk back, And then she's dancing with a big 6'6" hunky dude with perfect teeth, and I have to walk out there and humiliate myself in the dance and go, I thought you said you didn't like this song, So I did that. I walked over to this guy, man. I did something completely not my idea, somebody else's idea. And I said, hi, how are you? And he said, I'm all right. And then I came back to Earl and I said, did you see that? Did you see what I just did? Wasn't that great? And he goes, that's great. Now, after the meeting, ask him how the meeting was. And I'm like, dude. And so everybody got to have a meeting while I sat there and thought the entire time, what am I going to say to this dude? And guess what I got for working all these steps and sponsoring all these guys and doing all this stuff? Whenever I'm at a meeting, I get to walk across the meeting and go reach out and say to some new guy, hi, how are you? That's it. And I get a self-esteem, and I get and I get some self-respect, and I get some friends, and I get some health, and I get to live, and I get to have love, and some of those other little things that we'll get to, So, yeah. I didn't take my first drink until I was 11. I held out for as long as I possibly could. It was Boone's Farm strawberry wine. As my sponsor would say, no grapes involved. And I remember it was strawberry because I remember what it tasted like coming back up. you know. But that thing happened. Now, when I was the smallest person in my school till about the 9th or 10th grade. Not that I'm some big giant now. I'm 5'10", so that's kind of normal. But when everybody was supposed to be this tall, I was this tall. And so, you know, my father was a colonel in the Air Force. I had 2 brothers. Neither one of them ever experienced this alcoholism or drug addiction. And my father was very abusive. My first drug of choice was violence and run, right? And out. That was my first real drink. My first favorite drink was out. I wanted out. Out of the family, out of my room, out of the house, out of this car. Hey, did anybody ever see that movie, The Way Back? I just saw that. It's about the very last seat in a station wagon, right? And my family had a Rambler Ambassador station wagon. And my seat, I would go, as soon as I knew we were going somewhere, I would run out to that station wagon and get, not the way back seat, the way back. And the reason to sit there is because I wanted out, and it's out of punching distance from my father who's driving, see? Because that's what he was always doing. And so I just wanted to be there, perfect, facing away from them. If you're brand new and you get to a meeting after the meeting starts and you leave before the meeting's over, you know what I'm talking about. You like the way back too. Because how do you do that? How do you chit-chat without a margarita or a fifth of gin or snortable alcohol or, you know? And I want to pay my respect to Alcoholics Anonymous, you know, and I just want to tell you that, yes, drugs were a part of my story, but I just want you to join us. If smokable alcohol was your thing, or injectable alcohol, or pill form alcohol, it's all anti-Danny medication, right? It's all designed to take me out of right here, right now. That's all. So just join us, man. Just join us. Unity. So there I was in Texas. I was a budding little alcoholic who finally graduated very quickly to Southern Comfort, who it's very improperly named. Very rarely did I have an occasion or an event that wound up being comfortable with Southern Comfort. Most things aren't named very properly for us, like angel dust. I mean, there's nothing, and what's angelic about that? You know? The only thing that they named right was crack. Look what it does to their teeth, you know? It's good to laugh. It's good to laugh. Well, Leslie, where are you, Leslie? Birthday Leslie. Leslie said, I hope you're funny. Can you please be funny? My favorite page in the entire big book is page 132, right in the dead center of the book. It says we absolutely insist on enjoying life, because Lord knows when we were locked in our house, man, drinking up a storm, our children taken away from us, locked up, driving drunk, sitting in, you know, I mean, come on. I see the empty seats and I think about the people who could be filling them. That's just something that I do to stop from being complacent. Right. Page 24 of our book says we are unable at certain times to bring with sufficient force to our memory the humiliation and the suffering of not even a week or a day ago. And I constantly remember. I like to remember who and what I am and what can happen to me if I forget. And when I look around and I see these empty seats, I think about this sitting next to you, this poor guy that's sitting over there sleeping underneath of a freeway right now. There's a man under there. When I look at that, I think to myself, when I see a guy, you know, there's a man underneath there. And when I came here 22 years old, holes in all my teeth and mats in my hair, man, and broken in every absolute way and not connected to a single person with nothing. And I was sitting in young people. There used to be these things called phone booths. And I was in San Francisco Civic Center Park, right? And one of those half phone booths, this metal thing that's only, you know, it looks like a little spaceship hovering. And I was hiding in there because it was all the business people were going to the normal people were going to work, the people that were clean and fresh. And I had spent the last 5 years of my life staring at my feet, because I couldn't look you in the eye. The only time you look someone in the eye is if you're going to lie to them and manipulate them. Because if you don't look them at them in the eye, they think you might be lying to them and trying to manipulate them, right? And so I'm hiding in this little phone booth, and I had never, ever, ever heard of Alcoholics Anonymous. I had been in front of therapists and counselors all my life, because now they're called dysfunctional homes and acting out, seeking negative attention. They didn't have the names for that stuff then. It was just like, what is wrong with this boy, And no one ever said, you're an alcoholic. No one ever said that to me. And I'm hiding in this phone booth, and it said, do you think you have a drinking problem? I turned it into the movie voice guy in my head. Do you think you have a drinking problem? Is it call Alcoholics? There was a bumper sticker in there, and I called, and this woman answered, and she said, hi, do you think you have a drinking problem? I could see, she probably had those glasses with the chain around them. I could see them on the phone. I could immediately tell that she had never been where I had been. I have this unique gift. I could walk in this room when I was new, look where the speaker's supposed to be sitting, and go, what does that guy know about me? Guy's wearing a sweater vest. I have nothing in common with that guy. I did that so much that if you weren't me, I had nothing in common with you. Now if you're like a 400-pound lesbian sumo wrestler, I can relate to you. Because I relate to the feelings, man. It doesn't matter what you look like. You have no idea. New people, you have no idea who you're sitting next to in this room. You get to know them and you talk to them, it'll blow you away. Because we clean up real good. But trust me, there's some stories in here. I challenge a new girl to walk up in here and ask Madeline, what was the last 5 years of your drinking like? I bet it was no bed of roses, was it? We don't end up here accidentally. Amazing. I applaud the I don't want to say old timers, long timers. I so respect you for being here and passing this thing on, and I take this so serious. My sponsor has taught me that if I'm not a human link in the chain of recovery, if I'm not sponsored in one hand, and if I'm not handing it to another guy, I've been a complete waste of time. And that was the obligation I made to him. If I get this thing, what is this thing? To be able to walk the earth a free man, no longer enslaved by the great beast, the obsession of the mind, and now being comfortable, doing what I'm doing, helping another guy. It's called peace. Wow. I spent thousands of dollars trying to get to zero. What is zero? The absence of pain, right? And I have it. I have it now. Where was I? Oh, I'm in the phone booth. Yeah. I'm in the phone booth, and she says, do you think you have a drinking problem? And I go, my only thing that I can do now is run into a liquor store, time it to where the guy's not looking, and go, now I'm drinking MD 2020, right? Or Night Train. I mean, this is, at the time, 79 cents for a bottle. It was rancid. But it made me leave my earth suit for a while. And she says, do you think you can make it to a meeting at Bush? I don't know if you know the landscape of San Francisco. She said it was Bush and Goff, which is up on like Russian Hill or something like that. And I'm in Civic Center Park. Now, if you're an alcoholic, and I'm thinking you probably are, and if you're down here and she wants you to go here and there's not a drink at the other end of this, that's a long way. It's funny, all the things that we would do. When I think about some of the stuff that I would do to drink, and then you see people once they, these newcomers, when you tell them, all right, man, meet me at the meeting. Where is it? It's 17 blocks from your house. Dude. I'm like, wait a minute, dude. Aren't you the guy that you told me in your story that you used to go? Well, this is what I used to do, actually. I used to go, when they used to be able to smoke in California, and I would go in right towards last call. The waitress, the little rails where the waitress goes in a bar to get her drinks, and as she's bussing all the tables and putting all the drinks there, and before the bartender or the bar back can get to the drinks and dump them out. It's heaven for an alcoholic. She's bringing all the unfinished drinks to one place. And I would show up with this big Tupperware container, and because I'm no slob, I would bring a tea strainer. Or if I didn't have a tea strainer, a t-shirt, and a rubber band. And you walk over to the bar. You can save a lot of money and drink a lot of and you just dump all the drinks and the filters for the cigarette butts. You dump them all out and you can, here's this. And listen to you guys. This whole room full of people have puked for 2 hours when there was nothing left. Oh, and I would go out back behind the bar and I would drink this. And some people call that pitiful and incomprehensible demoralization. I called it a Long Island tea. Genius. This is why, see, you hear this? This is why I need a sponsor. You see, because I think that way of thinking is all right, That's why we have to have a sponsor to call when we're going to make these decisions. Hello, Earl. Yeah. Do you think I should get back together with Debbie? Earl. Oh, Debbie. Oh, you mean the one that when you broke up with her, she broke the window of your truck and put the garden hose in there and turned it on all day? No, Danny, I think that would probably be a bad idea. Okay. But I'm calling. So anyway, I go up to this meeting, right? We're laughing, right, Leslie? We're good? We're good. We think that cheerfulness and laughter make for usefulness. It's the only place that you can talk about like wetting the bed, crapping your pants, or trying to hang yourself, and the whole room goes, ah! You can't go to the Lions Club, and there's probably a Lions Club here, right? You can't go there and go, and then I jumped off the bridge, but I didn't land right, and I'm still here, and the whole room laughs up. And a normal room would just be like, oh my God, We get it. Okay, so I walk up to this meeting, right? And I walk into my very first A&A meeting, right? And some people, they get sober. The only reason they get sober is so they can hug things. If anything stays still long enough, they hug it. They don't care. Plants, podiums, people, right? They'll be talking right in the middle, and they go, oh, hold on a minute. And they'll run over it, right? Now, I walk in there. I looked like this. That's what I look like. I look like a parking meter, and like some of the girls that might have done some of those other things think they look good when they're like a size none. I think I'm looking cool and tough, and this guy, big, huge guy, comes up to me and he hugs me. He goes, I love you, welcome home. And the last time I got a hug from a dude, never, right? I come from a very tough family. Big boys don't cry. Take it like a man. Don't show your feelings here. Quit crying or I'll give you something to cry about. All that stuff. And this guy, this big, humongous eclipse of a man hugs me, and I tell him, I put on my tough guy look, don't hug me, dude. And he goes, yeah, whatever, man, and hugs me. And then this woman comes over, this woman with this silver hair, and she had like this Florence Henderson kind of hairdo, like remember that girl, Marlo Thomas? Was that her name, Marlo Thomas? Whoosh, had a little whoop, like that. I don't know what you call it. I call it a whoop, right? And she came over and she gave me the first real, because I had no family. My family was completely estranged, and they moved on and they left me and they threw me away. I was thrown away by the people that loved me the best, and I was disconnected from everything. And this woman came over, I'll never forget. Her name's Peg, I still know her, and she said, Danny, welcome to Alcoholics Anonymous. You never have to do what you're doing to yourself ever again, and you never have to feel like you feel if you don't want to. And I shattered like a piece of glass. I couldn't even hug her back. And it all came out, And I started going to meetings. I started going to these A&A meetings, right? And that big guy kept coming around hugging me, man, every time. I'd say, don't hug me, dude, and he'd hug me anyway. And about the sixth meeting I was at or something. Maybe, I don't know, it was a little sketch a long time ago. I remember I came in and he didn't hug me. And he was talking to some people and I was like, hey, dude. Now I don't care. When big guys hug me, man, I lift my leg. I nuzzle. I have become the most gentle. Listen, I got to tell you, I was the most violent person you ever met. In sobriety, I have been the most violent person. I had no idea how to deal with my feelings. I had no male role models. Nobody ever taught me anything about how to treat people. All I ever knew was wham, wham, wham. And I have become the person that God has always wanted me to be. Alcoholics Anonymous doesn't teach me. Like somebody came up here tonight and said that to be spiritual the way they were always intended, the way, right? AA doesn't teach me how to be spiritual. I came on the planet that way. I was, any mom and dad or anybody that's ever held a little baby knows that a little baby is a perfect little spirit, a perfect little thing of light, you know? And all AA does, this is all, is teaches me how to break down self and move self out of the way so I can let it out. When I read the very first time or heard that when we drink, we cut off the sunlight of the spirit, I thought it meant that I put something like above my head and the ray couldn't get in. But what I've learned is that I cut it off from it coming out of me too, especially. It has to start here. It starts with me, just like I am responsible, right? That I am responsible when the hand of AA needs to be there. It has to become from me. Me, the same person who had to tap out and say the magic word in here. Help me. That's the bottom. If you're new and you think maybe I haven't hit bottom because I'm not as bad as that guy, I still have one eyeball. I still have this, or you're comparing. Bottom, as it's been explained to me, is when I need help outside of myself to stop. I've lost the ability to control. So, anyway, I started going to meetings, and I'd like to say that I stayed sober forever, but I didn't. Like I said, in '93, I went back out, and I drank, and I stayed out for 15 years. But the most important thing that I think about Alcoholics Anonymous in my story is my sponsor. Okay? Because for years and years and years, I had no belief in me. I had lost the belief in you long time ago. In fact, I don't think I ever had belief in people. I never trusted people. And higher power, I knew if there was such a thing as a higher power, I knew he didn't like me. Because I don't need to look beyond my life to know that if there's something running things, why is it this way for me? Because it's never been good. And I grew up hearing all that stuff. You're a loser, you're nothing, you're never going to be nothing. And I believed it. And I would say it. It was my mantra. I'd be drunk looking in the mirror going, you're nothing, and you deserve this. And I met this guy, right? I was out and I was never going to go to another meeting again. Forget this. And a very dear friend of mine, God rest her name was Victoria Smart. She went back out and on pain pills and OD'd, had a Vicodin overdose in her apartment. But before she died, she said, Danny, you can live with me. You can stay here and I'll cook you meals and I'll be your girlfriend. But you got to go to one more meeting. And I was like, that sounds like a pretty good deal. Okay. And she took me to, I don't know if any of you have ever been to, Lauren, you were talking about, when Rodeo was on Rodeo. It's like 4 times this size, Gucci, Louis Vuitton, Jimmy Choo, everything. And everyone just looks better than you if you're new, And you just feel like you're just underdressed, not in the right place. Oh my God, everyone knows. And she takes me, you got to come hear this guy, Earl, talk. And I had never heard of him. And I sat about where you are in the blue shirt right there, you, right? And it was like he was talking straight to me. And I asked him to be my sponsor. And he never gave up on me. I would go in and out. I would come in and I would go out, and I would come in and I would go out. And we were West Side boys at one time, and then I got sent to this institution. And when I got out, Earl moved to the Valley. The Valley. So I moved to the Valley. And I started going to my regular home group. That Luther used to be part of that group, and Steve A, and Chris P, and man, just a good group of people, man. But there was something tough about that meeting. That meeting had something very hard about it to get into. It had greeters. It had like 3 greeters on each side of the door. And I used to drive up to that meeting. He wouldn't say, go to the meeting. He'd say, I'll see you at the meeting. He didn't tell me about AA. He showed me AA. He didn't say, go thank the speaker. He said, come on, let's go thank the speaker. So he goes, I'll meet you at the meeting. And I drive up to the meeting, and from the parking lot, you can see, you know these greeters that are way too happy? Like that guy in the Extends commercial? You know, they're all like, and you gotta, you're like 2 days sober and your brain's just filled with drink, and you gotta walk through that, Like, how do you do that? And I would drive up to him and go, well, too bad I can't go to this meeting tonight, and I'd drive off. That scared me, man. I couldn't do that. Or sometimes, if I just had to get in there, I'd just go, because they ask you these tough questions at the door sometimes, like, how are you? I don't know. I don't know how I am. I'm ready to explode. I would like to kill you. That's how I am. And then you have to pretend. When you graduate, then you get to stand there in the kitchen at this meeting, if you dare. That's where they would all chit-chat. Oh, God. And talk about their day. I wanted to stab myself in the face, Oh, my goodness, man. I was so uncomfortable. But I started doing it. I started doing the contrary action, right? And Earl said to me, he goes, that greeting commitment, that looks like a pretty good idea for you. Now I have a sponsor translator. My sponsor translator said, get the greeting commitment or you're going to die. So I started greeting. I'd get there early. And in my brain, as you came into the meeting, I would think, how's it going? I hope you drink tonight. That's what I would think. I was just nuts. I was nuts, man. I would, on the outside, I go, hey, how's it going? I'm Danny. Nice to meet you. Hi. How you doing? Welcome. How you doing? How you doing? And I think, oh, you're still here? Okay. Just to make it fun. Oh, I hope you don't share tonight. Whatever, right? And, hey, Luther will tell you it was a very uncomfortable meeting if you're new, because imagine if all these rows were turned this way and these this way. We had to face each other. And come on. I mean, what you guys sitting there, everybody's doing the best they can to not look each other in the eye, And then it was a good meeting to get a resentment at, because you couldn't raise your hand. You had to be called on. Right? Oh, special alcoholic. You know what the head does with that, right? Because we talk about you need to focus on, you all have heard it, look for the similarities, not the differences. No, the beast is ready. We're looking for differences here so I can hold on to my right to drink, because forget this. We don't like this. We don't want this. We don't need this. Let's go get some relief. We know what to do with this. So we're sitting there, my head would just I was seething. I'd sit next to my sponsor every week, man. I love sitting next to my sponsor. And I was like a little Labrador and a dog, going for a ride in the car. I'll probably get it tattooed on me one day. I love my sponsor, right? Saved my life. Call your sponsor tonight when you get home, if you're not here with them, and call them and just say, I love you. And hang up. So, he said, get a greeting. So I'm doing the greeting commitment. I showed up there, esteemable act, contrary action, right? I mean, we think, when you're new, you think your sponsor doesn't know what you're talking about. You call him and go, my wife's going to leave me and I have no money and blah, blah. And he goes, get a literature commitment. What? Are you kidding? Did you hear what I just said? What is wrong with you? See, because they don't, accountability, showing up, esteemable act, makes you feel better about yourself. I mean, that's all we want to do is feel better. That's all we were trying to do all our life. Because if I feel better, chances are I can be more of maximum service to you if I feel good, right? So, I went on the road and I started working these steps with my sponsor again, for real. Got into the book heavy, man, and I'm a big believer of look, this meeting is named after this book. Just my opinion, that if I'm not in this book and working the principles in this book, and I'm just going to meetings, I'm only going to meetings, I'm not in AA. This, AA, right? But it doesn't end at 164. For me, it ends at alcoholic number 3. The rest of it, no, I'm kidding. Take it easy. I keep the appendixes and the long form, short form, and the 12 concepts too. But the stories, we don't read them. But if you need to, go ahead. That's just not my experience. Okay, take it easy, Danny, I know. So anyway, I'm about 11 months sober, right? And all these feelings are coming out. And my only higher power that I believe in is that Earl believes. I believe that my sponsor believes. That's all I believe in. And I'm not feeling the gift, and I'm very uncomfortable. And I go to swipe my ATM card at the bank because I'm going to buy those stupid people at the stupid meeting some stupid donuts. That was my attitude. But I didn't show you that. You know, I'm no longer that guy anymore that when you're at the participation meeting, you know when you all go to participation meetings, right? You know how there's like one person in the meeting that you hope the leader doesn't call on? And when they call on him, like it sucks the air out of the room and you can feel the whole room go, ugh. I am no longer allowed to do that because now I have to act better than I feel. I act better than I feel. If I'm not willing to change at least that, how far am I willing to change? So I act better than I feel, right? And so I show up and I buy these people donuts and I go swipe my card and it says, please contact Financial Center. That's not good. I'd never paid my taxes, ever. So I called my sponsor screaming, oh my God, I don't have any money. I can't pay my rent. I can't make my truck payment. You know what he told me to do? Go to the meeting and greet. But I said, I'll do anything you want me to do. I thought all this stuff. That's ridiculous. Are you crazy? I will not. But what came out without my permission, yes, sir. It's the man that saved my life. It's the man that drove to institutions for 5.5 hours to see me for a half an hour. It's the man that stood in line at the county jail for 7 hours to see me on a 7-minute visit. It's the man that stayed on the phone with me while I was out of my mind. It's the man that came to Glendale Adventist, Stallions Mental Center, and many other places with a catheter in me that came in there to tell me, I believe in you and I love you. So I said, yes, I will. And I went back to that meeting and I stood there. And I didn't pour me because I knew the book told me the reason we have meetings is so a newcomer can hear a message of hope. So I didn't vomit on the room. I just did my job, did my commitment, acted better than I felt. Contrary action. Did what I didn't want to do and did not do what I would like to do. Usually this. Okay, so fast forward. I'm not feeling the gift yet. Sitting there in my apartment, man. It's like 1,000 degrees, man, after work. And I'm sitting there going, how am I going to go to this darn meeting with those stupid people that smile so much? They're all so happy. And when you're miserable, man, happiness is a lot to take, you know? But you hang in there. So my sponsor calls me. My phone rings and my sponsor says, meet me at the corner of Reseda and Ventura. And like I said, that's your sponsor. You don't say, what do you want? If you're doing brain surgery, you put a towel on the head and you go see your sponsor who helped you for nothing. You just go. Like Forrest Gump. Remember when he's on the boat and they called and said, Forrest, your mama's sick. Fully dressed, jumped in the water, right? Just run, right? My sponsor wants me. Get out of the way, right? These guys will tell you we were having dinner the other night. The stuff came as soon as I saw my sponsor. That's my sponsor, man. Sorry. If I jumped off a cliff and he called, I'd have to stop halfway to answer the phone. And I go to see Earl. If any of you guys know Earl, he's like this very big person. Whenever he talks, he's moving his hands a lot right there. And I go to meet him in it's like 115 degrees and like this terrible summer that we had, which just made things so much more fun. And I walk up to him and I'm defeated, man. I don't know, because I have all these problems and I just don't see an end, man. And you know, now that I'm, I have sobriety and I have a solution and I have hope. Things have a beginning, a middle, and an end. When I was new and had no hope, everything was just the end, right? Never had a middle. It was over. And I walk up to him and I said, what's happening? And he's got an envelope, right? He's holding an envelope. He's holding like this. This is for you. I go, well, what is it? So open it and find out. And I open it up, right? And there's a stack of money in there. I know some of you are thinking, I got to get this guy Earl to sponsor me, right? I said, well, what's this? He says, read it. The piece of paper says, this is an anonymous gift. Keep it or pass it on. Now, I don't know about you, but I have this sense of entitlement, but a little tiny. At the time, low self-esteem had been a goal for me. You give me like a yo-yo, and I just want to, collapse. And he gives me this. I go, what is this? He said, those people that you stood in line with at good old AA. They found out about you, Danny. It was your home group. You're going to regular meetings regularly. They found out about you, and they love you. And they don't want you to go back out there. So they all got together, man, and they did this for you so that you could keep making it and keep staying sober. And I started getting real emotional in broad daylight in front of a man, my favorite thing. And I gave him a hug, and I started to run away. That old ran kick in, and as I got over to my truck, he yelled to me across the parking lot about where you guys, way over there against the wall. He goes, "Danny, you're part of something now." I drove home. I'm crying, man. I'm at the red light. People are next to me. I'm like, I'm part of something. I'm talking about snot, and I just sat in there, man. I sat in my apartment, and I held that piece of paper, and I could still remember that noise of, they were the sound of the tears. They were rolling off my cheek, and they were just landing on that piece of paper. That piece of paper meant so much to me. It meant that I was finally connected to something. I was part of something because I wanted to be, and that represented people that believed in me, and it enabled me to believe in myself so that I could be of service and help other people. I get to go walk across the room and say hello to that guy, I'm pretty much out of time, If you're new, and you're going in and out, or you feel lost, well, you know what it says if you're in the rooms for a while and you feel lost, you know what it says at the top of working with others. Work with others, right? But if you're brand new, man, and you're trying it out, just talk to somebody. There's people in here that are dying to help you, that would love to help you. This is the best thing there is. And I wish for you what I've gotten in Alcoholics Anonymous. I wish you peace. Thank you.